Welcome to Daily Wisdom from the Flippening podcast. These episodes feature short, to-the-point clips from our full-length interviews. We talk to the men and women behind the trades, crypto exchanges, and regulations with the goal of helping you become a better, more informed investor.
Hi, I'm Mike Kaplan, editor of the Flippening podcast. Today's episode is from a 2019 conversation with Jordan Clifford, co-founder and managing director at cryptoasset fund Scalar Capital. We discuss how his experience working at Coinbase reinforced his beliefs in privacy and that crypto should be as fungible as cash. For the full conversation, check out Flippening episode 41. Now without further ado, our conversation with Jordan Clifford from Scalar Capital. Enjoy.
I worked at Coinbase for a year and a half. I did a lot of internal systems at Coinbase. I was a back-end engineer. I did a lot of refactoring and adding features to the compliance systems. So every action that a user takes on Coinbase, it actually goes through a deep set of systems that verify that action is allowed by law and is compliant. And there's a number of indicators that have to be looked at and a number of systems that all those things go through. So that's where I met my co-founder for Scalar Capital, Linda. She was a product manager at Coinbase, and we worked together to really make sure that the company's operations were running really smooth.
Very cool. And what was Linda's role there?
So Linda joined Coinbase as a compliance investigator, and later got promoted through the ranks and ended up being product manager for all the internal tools. So basically every back-end system that employees would interface with. So all the fraud detection systems, the legal systems, the compliance systems. She was the one writing out tickets and creating specs for how we should upgrade those.
I want to transition in just a bit to Scalar Capital and your story, but first I want to ask something that just came to mind when you were talking about compliance and compliance systems, which you both were involved in. And that is, did Coinbase's audits of the history of crypto assets and, I don't know if policing is the right word, but the checks and balances they put on tokens before they come into the Coinbase ecosystem, did that have any bearing on your proclivity or interest in privacy coins and privacy in general?
I would say yes. I don't think it was the genesis of my interest in privacy. I've been really inspired by kind of the origin story of Bitcoin and the cypherpunk kind of culture. Cypherpunk Manifesto is one of my favorite short essays. I would recommend everybody read that essay. It's not long and it definitely fires you up in terms of making systems and building software that actually protects the individual liberties. So that's really rooted in Bitcoin and the fact that Bitcoin really doesn't encourage address reuse. It encourages new addresses every time. So Bitcoin on its own has already kind of had that privacy culture, but by working at Coinbase and seeing all the compliance systems and seeing all the all the blockchain analytics that were going on and all the tracing and all the subpoenas and law enforcement, it definitely reminds you that, this is not private by default. This is actually quite public, all of your dealings on the blockchain. And maybe that's not the best answer for most people for the long term. I'm sure we'll get into privacy a bit later, but privacy is really not just about big bad government spying on you. It's also about your neighbor. It's about your friend. It's about Russian hackers. You really don't want to be revealing all kinds of personal sensitive financial information when you use a transactional network.
As a Coinbase user, I recall one incident where I tried to transfer tokens to what Coinbase deemed a questionable address, got my account flagged and shut down for a couple of days until support reopened things for me. I've also had friends who tried to import tokens from, I guess, that Coinbase deemed to not have a great history. Can you share what you're able to about the checks and balances on coins flowing in and out of Coinbase and similar systems?
Well, I can't get into too many specifics, but Coinbase works with a number of vendors that are really solely focused on blockchain analytics. So they do a lot of wallet analysis. One of the ones out there is Elliptical, and then there's Chainalysis. And I think we've worked with both of those in the past. They are actually out there just profiling the entire history of the transactions on the blockchain. And they are able to, figure out, is this a gambling website? Is this a darknet market? Is this, something even worse? And they'll actually, work with Coinbase to find whether users are interfacing with things they shouldn't be. Yeah, that's about as much as I can say.
What are your personal views about the fungibility implications to that kind of work?
Well, personally, it's very concerning. I mean, you don't always know who's taking these actions, and you don't want innocent people getting caught in the middle. You know, if I'm getting money back from my friend Bob, and Bob happened to sell some marijuana for that money, and then he sends it to me, I don't want to be cast suspicion upon when I go and spend that money. You know, we don't trace $100 bills and really, you know, if that $100 bill has been used for cocaine trafficking, look funny at the person, because we just don't know. A $100 bill is fungible. I'd like cryptocurrencies to be that same way. I think that it really is a chilling effect if you can trace the history of a money and see that it's been used in some illicit act in the past, and then hold that against the current bearer of that money. I think that's a really negative thing for the whole system, and it makes people a lot more cautious about accepting money and about freely transacting in the way they may want to.
That's it for today. If you like what you heard and want to support the show, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you decide to leave us a review after subscribing, we'll send you a free Nomics t-shirt. Just hit us up on Twitter at username Nomics Finance after you've left the review, and we'll hook you up. You may also be interested in Nomics.com, our crypto market cap and pricing website. Check us out at Nomics.com, spelled Nomics. Now stick around for our legal disclaimer. All opinions expressed by podcast hosts or guests are solely their own opinion and do not reflect the opinion of Nomics or any other company. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be relied upon as the basis for investment decisions. The producers, hosts, and guests of the show may maintain positions in the companies or assets discussed today.